Last night I stayed in this pretty Airbnb and it was very comfortable and very nice. It's right by the border and right down the road from my ultimate destination today, the Cloverdale Swap. Here we go. We've got our toonie out and we are ready to give it to them to go in. And I went ahead and got a hand stamp because I have a feeling I'm going to go to the car a few times. Well, there's a lot of people out already. And it's going to be everything from new stuff to practical stuff to antique stuff. So we're going to take a look and see what we find. Here's an interesting way of merchandising. You build a trailer with some flip out sides and you just hang stuff. Nylint hard hat from the 80s. The grater here is cool. It looks sort of like a Structo, but it seems to be missing a piece or two. It is indeed a Structo, it says. Some old utility lanterns from a barn, a vanity chair that needs a seat, but that could be cute. Some old toys, Tonka camper from the 70s, nothing in really good shape. This guy just gets everything. He must clear out estates. He does a lot of tools and stuff. And yes, he always wears the funny wig. He's been here for a long time. Now this is sort of interesting. Green bottle with California that looks like a globe. I've not seen this one before. I suspect it's an old wine bottle. That's kind of interesting. A giant toy dig. Some beautiful plants. Zeno would be looking through this if he were here. Also lots of fruit and vegetables. Tools galore. I think there's still a lot of people here in Canada who do this kind of work and know how to use all this. Among the tools are woodworking planes. There's a great neck, a Dunlap, part of an older Stanley that looks like it's a more interesting model, but just a part of it. This one's made in Canada. The shape of the wooden buoys depends on where you are. I understand this is a Northwest design. Here are these ovals. I have a friend in Florida who's from Oregon originally who deals in this sort of stuff, and he told me a bit about it. Old woodblock planes here, but most don't seem to have their blades. This looks like something that was made by hand. Nice rack. A bunch of them.
$15. 15? I gave you these back long ago. I know, they're stuck in that trailer for a long time. How many times have you seen that trailer?
Now here we go. It's a motorcycle. And it has the 86 logo, so this might be something. Need some cleaning. Think an oven cleaner will take that off.
We got drinks afterwards for you guys.
Ball jars, some cigarette tins. The nut chopper is cute. Salts and peppers. Let's see, this looks like the Tappan Chef guy from Japan. Of course, shakers are something I have oodles of now. These are awfully cute. I've had these before and they're always a good seller because of the cat in the teapot. Purple cows. But that's got a chip. Oh, I wish they had it. Is this one single or is this part of a pair? Yeah, it's part of a pair. Darn, wish they had the other one. Oh, but I do see Miss Priss in there. We're hoping these are in good shape. All right, we'll see what they want. Bottles including Carling's Pilsner. That's an older one there. And, well, Avon bottles. Lots of boxes to dig in here. Ah, how to repair your radio. That could be useful to somebody. That looks like an old movie camera. A couple of camel seats, well, one anyway, and a shaving mirror, but those are not in great shape. Cute trophy shape. Human beings are something that were collectible in their time and still have some collectors now. Trump cigar, made in Canada, 2 for 5 cents. Cool Oilers. Hastings, Nebraska, the Golden. A couple of coffee mills and a foot warmer.
Come in over here.
Snoopy, that's cool. All right, more salt and pepper shakers. Some more kitty cats. Ooh, crazy cross-eyed kitty cat. Lots and lots of brass. Alligator purse. That could be good, but the condition looks a little rough. English-style railroad lantern. Some older license plates. Lots of pins and buttons. Cute mandolin. It's a K. That wasn't a high-end brand. It's not in great shape either. More of a wall hanger. Owl bookends. Let's see.
How much Flea? Stick them in the air. Say Tommy.
Knowledge. They're heavy chalkware.
Shoe shine, shoe shine. Shoe shine here.
This is a cute
Shoe shine,
teapot.
Tommy.
Very 70s looking. This is a Ridgeway Allendale from England.
Yeah. $20. $20 for shoe shine. $20 for the first one. $20 for shoe shine. Can't find anything out there. Come in. Come in.
Canadiana Pottery was another one that did grit places, and there's a three-tone, a little different from the Blue Mountain. This is from the 70s. Let's take a look at this.
Oh, for your wife? Here.
Glass bake, 15 Canadian,
Tommy, how much?
about $12 US.
I only got 2 left. I have 5.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Boy, they got the brass. Ah, now here we go. In the brass, I see this, which is France, but it's a little too damaged, I'm afraid. Totem's kind of bent. Some John Deere's. Any of the Erdl ones that are USA made might be worthwhile, and this one seems to be in the best shape.
Yeah. Only that small one. Where's that at?
This one is a USA made. All right, I just paid 15 Canadian, which is about $6 a piece American for these, and Miss Pris is worth it right there. All right, we've got some glassware here. Indiana, some Bohemian with a goldish reddish flash. Another Bohemian set here. Pretty cups and saucers. I like the shapes on this. This is a little different. This is earlier Wedgwood. 1930s vintage. Love the shape of this particular piece. Isn't that elegant? Ah, yes, these oil lamps from the 70s that are pretty collectible now. Ah, deep well. And this one has the lifter with it. That's a nice combination there on the Corning cornflower. There's so much here, I think we're going to go down the outside and work our way back and forth. Ah, look at these beautiful bellflowers for $20. Unfortunately, you can't take these across the border. They're not old, but Maryland is certainly vintage.
Quite a few online. I had probably about 5 to 8 of them or something. $5 a piece. Yeah. Thank you.
A lot of the tool dealers end up with a box or two of glassware, and it sort of sticks out like a sore thumb because it's not their thing, and that can be a great way to get a deal. These are Kimberly by Fire King from the 1970s. Great colors, but they tended to wear on the high points, and these are indeed a little too worn for me. Just a ton of tools here. Definitely a big reseller market for tools. If this is something that interests you, there is definitely opportunity. A lot of brass and chrome ethnography here. Some of these artist sign pieces can be money. I'm not sure these are artist made necessarily. 30 Canadian on the Mickey Mouse talking phone from around 1980. Halloween festival beer, okay. Anoka, Minnesota has been called the Halloween capital of the world. Harold's Club, Harrah's, the usual stolen ashtrays. Is this Blue Mountain or one of the other companies? Yep, it's Blue Mountain, BMP. I like the fish, I have to say. I haven't seen this before. We'll ask about that. Well, I continue to check the boxes on the Canadiana checklist. I just got my first piece of Blue Mountain on this trip. Sons of Scotland Benevolent Association. This Fenton piece has a little different kind of hand painting. Cool old starch tin. I love these globe banks. A term I cannot remember now. Trunk base. So this one has some stuff. We're gonna, oh my. That's a Disney collectible we could do without. Cute little embroidered sampler, 1935. This is fun. A Hyperfloogie. It's a Wade piece. The Cranky Tankard. I don't know what this is, but it's going to tell us here. The hirsute Hyperfloogie's looks will shock the least fastidious, and he himself devoutly wishes he weren't quite so hideous. He has no ears, so he never knows when people greet him, and what's far sadder, never hears them should they want to treat him. Poor guy. Cold fudge dispenser. It's like a big old waffle batter dispenser. Johnson cold fudge. That's neat. Starfire water skis. These are new to me. Oh, this looks like it has some promise. We'll take a look over here. Lots of pretty porcelain. Lots of Royal Albert. Seem to be on a cat kick today. Elizabeth Arden. Good morning. Here's a nice piece of alexandrite glass. $5. I think we have to have that. Gonna come look at her back table too, because she's got some neat stuff. Piece of treasure craft. A little bit worn though. Maracas, or castanets. This one's Glo-Hill with the bakelite handles and the chrome, and then these stainless steel looking ones are Danish. $5 on the Glo-Hill. That's butterscotch bakelite. I think I need to take that too. I don't usually buy the butterscotch Glo-Hill, but that one was in really good shape and it was a good price. So now I really have checked all the boxes of a lot of the mid-century Canadian stuff I like to find. There's a bit of repurposing of old pieces of stained glass in an old window frame. I see an old Coke light from the 70s, Amstel beer, White Horse Cellars box, a couple of neat old typewriters, but I have the Marx typewriter already in my space in Centralia. Some cool vintage paper here, San Francisco via TWA. I think he just quoted 25 on this, which is kind of cool with the atomic design. RCA service. Delicious toasted infrared hot sandwiches. Ew. Some of his old signs are really cool, but condition, unfortunately, is a problem. Met toy. This one's similar to the one I have already. Is this Los Castillos? It looks like mixed media from... Okay. Not Los Castillos, but definitely made in Mexico. I like the green boat. I haven't seen the green color too often. This is a late 70s version of a very old Dr. Pepper advertising mirror. This is neat because it's got the green case and it's the green camera. I'm not sure this is going to be inexpensive, but I feel I need to ask because the condition's really good. And then this is a more regular one, a Nettar Zeiss icon from Germany. Some nice signs. The Labatt's in particular seems to be metal. Here's the Canucks winning the President's Trophy in the NHL in 2011. I like the Haeger's root beer that looks like a 70s or 80s era. And it's got spigots for Haeger's and Coke. Johnson's wax floor polisher from the 1920s. Wow. There's a different kind of lantern with baffles between so that you only see the light from one direction. I bet these are E-Canada, which is a Canadian version of Wedgwood. Yes, here we go. E-Canada, made in Canada. It looks like Wedgwood Jasperware from a distance. It's not quite as good quality. You'll notice in the detail. But it's cute and there are collectors, and these are some better pieces. Shervac, an old vacuum thermos. University of Alberta. Apparently, if you go to university, you get a pair of bookends around here. We saw UBC bookends at one of the prior places we went. 1979 to 80 Canucks. I'm not sure what these would have been for. It's almost like they were place cards, but that doesn't really make sense. And then there's a bench here for Molson beer. Yeah, there's something about this I don't know. And then there's your actual Wedgwood. Nice seltzer bottle from Portland, Oregon, next to the Rocket 88 Oldsmobile service manual. And boy, you needed this. I had a friend whose dad bought an Oldsmobile Rocket 88 in the 50s, and it only got to 40,000 miles and the engine blew up. There may be a reason they don't make them anymore. Little tin bus. American Airlines. This is a Japanese friction vehicle from about 1970. Above Donny Osmond here, we have this. More interesting that it has the case than anything, I would say. It's a gem razor. Boxwood. Nice old rules. Good old hot cold spigot and a letterbox. I like the Palm Dairies milk and cream. Going to work or going to school drinking milk is a healthy rule. Bunch of fun baubles here. Mr. Pop. And this one is Black Bear brand. Cross & Company, Vancouver, BC. This is priced high because this is the opening season for the Vancouver Canucks, 1970. They were part of the West Coast expansion of the NHL that year. And a bunch of Trans-Canada Airlines flyers from back when that was the going concern up and down the West Coast. The years from 1 to 6, this looks like it's a parenting manual. So see, there is a book. Every time I hear parents say, well, there's no book about being a parent. Well, yeah, there's a whole lot of them actually. And this one is from 1967. One of these children is less happy than the others. Souvenir Christmas edition. The best of Alavoine and the Citizen. A lot of the comics in Vancouver and actually in Washington State too, the people who did the illustrations for the newspapers ended up getting to print compendiums like this. Give him a chemistry set and keep him away from those scary monster shows. Older license plates. Fun to collect. Canadian would sell well in the States, but those are more money than I'm willing to pay. Early Washington State license plate. You don't see those too often. Box full of ornaments, including a few shiny brights. Is this studio pottery? Let's see if we can find something out. 1980, probably more likely something somebody just made as an amateur, but it's pretty well done. Kind of a neat Art Deco design from the early 30s on this parquetry clock here. Copper shaker. Nice piece, Flemish Copper BP Company from the 50s, I would say, but it's a little dented, otherwise I'd be interested in that. This is a pretty piece of Royal Winton I've not seen before. And the Arabia Cow pitcher, a classic. $25, but a small ship, so we'll leave that. Lots of fun old books. The Unexpected 11 Strange Stories from the Hair-Raising Uncanny Nightmarish World of the Unexpected, 1961. John Cleese. I don't think he looked better as a woman. An Alfred Hatch plot. Oh, back when CDs were a big thing. Coleco made this. Sometime in the late 70s, made in Japan. And look how much fun you could have talking to random truckers driving down the road. T-Bird promo model. They actually made a lot of T-Birds because they were such popular cars and most people couldn't afford one, so the models were popular. 35 Canadian's a pretty good price. That works out to about $22.50 American. Probably could double my money on that. It's got the AMT model information and the friction drive. It's the 57. They've also got a lot of the Matchbox series, some with the original boxes. Some other fun games as well. 75 is a fair price on the Mark set. English cigarette cards, and these are mounted and framed, which a lot of people did when they were collecting these in earnest, especially in the 70s and 80s. Various cars of the time that may or may not be familiar to us. This is Player cigarettes, and they have everything from the Hillman Hawk to the Pontiac Deluxe 8, 1930s. Okay, this is fun. This is supposed to be a 1950s Ford. Even says so. Japanese made. They want $345. This is a big and unusual piece. I haven't actually seen this one before, and I've seen a lot of those cars from that era. Fresh up with 7-Up, it likes you. That was referring to the fact that it would make you feel better if you were having dyspepsia or a hangover. Carling's Red Cap Ale. That's known in the States. Cute little still bank. Looks like it would only hold pennies. Oh no, there's the big slot in the back. Haven't seen this one before. Well, so far this has been pretty productive, and there's a lot of stuff out here today. Rocks are interesting to people, and I can say that with surety because look how many people are in this tent. We may still be unearthing these, but they are indeed old. Interesting fossils. Dumonteerite, never heard of that. The big blue mountain whale. Seems out of place here. It might be a good deal. You never know. We're looking for things that jump out as not matching everything else. This cat definitely is along those lines. I think this is something someone did at home. The dogwoods are the BC flower, and this is Crown Prince. This is from the 1971 centennial of the establishment of British Columbia as a province rather than a territory. Big old sewing machines. These were considered portable at the time, but boy, are they heavy. Oh boy, Avon bottles. You know, there are fun ones. I see why people collected them originally. It's just that, well, they made so many that here we are almost 50 years later, and there's still a ton of them.
Hello.
Hello. McDonald's flags. Looney Tunes harmonica. They've got some cute stuff in here. Big Little Books. The McDonald's radio with the French fries, if that was in better shape, would be a good deal. I heard once that per capita, Canada uses McDonald's more than any other country on Earth. And since they're in almost every country on Earth, that says a lot. Well, we've looked outside, but these two buildings, which have the official antique show in October, also have antiques and vintage and other things inside during the regular swap meets typically. So we're going to go look. And sure enough, it says lots more inside. All right, here's our first haul. She's selling her cookies, but I love her collection of cookie monsters. The Cayuse model kit is kind of interesting. It's an older one by Revell. Cast iron docks and boot scrapers have been made for a long time. This one is a little bit heavy with file marks, so it's going to be more recent, probably second half of the 20th century. This carving says Dominique Cloutier on the bottom. I like the Blue Mountain. We see the fish a lot, but I like the bison.
Oh, you good?
But his feet are broken. Pete Rozelle was the NFL commissioner when that football was made. There's an interesting flower frog. These interesting setups for various scientific inspection are always worth something. It's nice to stand up on this balcony and look and see, because this hall typically has a lot of newer stuff, but maybe a few vintage and antique people in the middle. So this will help us figure out where we want to go. A bunch of Swarovski figures here, priced in kind of the usual ranges, $30 to $50.
Yeah.
All the House of Bargains, which is right across the street from you.
The English snack sets are fancy compared to our American ones. A little bit of Delftware and Royal Dalton. I overheard one of the vendors saying that they want to open an antique store and are looking for a place, and I think there is definitely call for that. There are only a couple of antique stores left in Cloverdale, according to the map. There used to be a big antique mall here, but again, prices have gone up and these things are getting priced out. Humpty Dumpty Wade is a harder one to find. These folks have some pretty glass. 1980s pink dresser set. One of those cork scenes. A nice little piece of Moorcroft here. Let's see if we see a price on this. Probably have to ask. These folks have a table full of crystal, and see, people are starting to look at crystal again. $10 each on the Royal Briarly. That seems like a good price. It's good quality. I should get out of these folks' way that are looking. Waterford Marquee priced at the equivalent of about $22 American. Trunk vase. That young couple at the antique mall saying we're going to count the bells. Well, they're right. There are a lot of bells up here. This one's treasure craft with the butterfly pattern when they were doing those as souvenirs in the 70s. Some very pretty dresser boxes here. Oh, and Spode's India tree in the orange colors. Very pretty. Oh, I have this box. It's from the Canadian Centennial, and that's what I keep my stamps in. And television. I'm sure there's some value to this. These early video game consoles generally do. Various Canadian currency over the years. There's King George VI and daughter Elizabeth. Our newer generation of collectors, a lot of Star Wars, and then over here, we've got a bluebird of happiness sitting amongst all these other things. All right, we've got one more building to go in, and while we're heading there, if you could just click that thumbs up button to tell people you like this video, it really does help us with YouTube. The more people interact and the more feedback we get, the better. Also, please subscribe, because then you can click the bell to be notified of future videos and come along with us on all these fun, exciting adventures all over the place. Looking for antiques and vintage. We have a great time and we want you to be part of it. Okay, one more haul full of stuff. Let's see where we're going. We have a $5 jewelry table. I don't know that there'll be anything vintage, but it's worth a quick glance. These folks have a mix of things, including some older items. The Northern Electric. Haven't seen the two-tone phones that I've been looking for by Northern Electric, but this one's quite a bit older. And this would have been one where you had to crank the phone and ring the operator because it does not have direct dial. That didn't come along until later in time. Dolls of the world, newer cars, but nothing old enough for me. 3 for $10 if you collected these eras of Hot Wheels and Matchbox. Well, they certainly have all of them, and wow, there have been just thousands and thousands made. But I really look for older versions than these. Fun place to bring kids, though. Heavy metal. This came out when I was in high school. The Boris Vallejo style drawings were the things that were the biggest interest in that movie, in my opinion. Zenyatta Mondatta by the Police. Battlestar Galactica soundtrack. They've got some fun stuff. Heart actually made it in Vancouver first. Both of their husbands/boyfriends were draft dodgers, and so they had to come up to Vancouver with them, and then they got discovered by a Montreal radio station. Pretty soon they were playing it in Seattle, where they were from originally, and then they became famous. And if play acting and steroids are your thing, well then 1990s big-time wrestling figures are going to be something up your alley. Little bit of older jewelry in this space. Most of the stuff I've seen in this show is actually new, but we'll take a look at this flower power pin, because that's kind of cute. Is that at ship though? Darn, too bad. They really have to be perfect. This is English China. I think these are cute. They sell occasionally to people who are not afraid of damaging them by wearing them out. This piece is not prong set, so it's newish. Kind of an interesting combination of metals and paint on that pin. I thought I saw one other thing. Oh yes, this one. This one is 1940s, when they're trying to save the rhinestones during the war by making things with a lot of paint and enamel and metalwork as well. Miner's lamp. But this is a reproduction, or a newer one, I guess I would say. Coins from Australia, a florin back when they used such things. Hard to find these in good condition because rubber degrades with time, but this one's pretty clean. This is a 1930s Donald Duck car with a little bit of a friction drive. And I believe that these were done by Sun Rubber. There was Sun Rubber and Auburn and a couple of other makers.
I'll come back.
Old ink blotter. Like the marble-based pen set. A couple of door knockers. This is an interesting subcategory of collecting that I like. Paisley chintz, I do like that plate underneath. I believe that's a Royal Winton also. We're going to try to take a look if I can get to it. There are collectors of this specific pattern because it's so fun, and the Paisley came out in the 30s and 40s, but a lot of people associate it with 1960s hippiedom. This was Royal Winton, as I suspected from the shape. Oh, it does. Okay, thank you. He just told me this has a crack, which is too bad. It's crown Staffordshire, and it has a nice signature, and this is a more finely painted owl for you owl collectors who are serious. I like old travel clocks and small alarms. This one is the one I think is the most interesting looking. It's a silver bell by West Clocks. It's got the old deco look, but this is when they're starting to be less expensive and made of much thinner metal. And that logo is 1970s. This place has lots of fun things. Here's a TV lamp with a clock. Funny, they just put the bulbs on top. Stag-handled steak knife sets, those would sell, but I don't want to take that over the border. A Viewmaster in the original box. Bunch of gauges. Here's some nice copper luster from the mid-1800s. This was very popular in England. And, well, in Canada, people started really settling here when this was still very popular. So you will see it here as well as in the States.
Everybody missed.
He has a bunch of bosuns and legends as well. I still think these are neat. They're very realistically modeled, but they're chalkware and they're not glazed heavily, so you do have to be careful or they will chip, and you can see where that started on his hat there. There is a very specifically Northwest ethnographic lamp next to this interesting brown earth wrap Haeger bowl with the side grip. Well, they offered me a really good deal on the Haeger Earth Wrap, and I have to say I was very tempted, but I have about hit the end of the flea market, and I have to be a little bit careful because now I have to take into account going over the border. So here's the thing about that. If you appear to have just bought a few things for your own personal use, going over the border is no big deal, because certainly what I spent is well below my duty limit for having been here over 48 hours. I believe you can bring up to $800 American worth of stuff back into the States. However, if they think you're doing it for resale, if you have a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't go together and it looks like it's all different, then you have to present a list of every item, what you paid, and the country of origin, so that they can check and make sure you're not bringing in things from Cuba or other places that we don't have trade relations with in the United States. And sometimes you might be required to pay a $10 importation fee. They can also make you go through a customs broker if you have a ton of stuff, and you can be tied up at the border for days while they deal with that, and that costs money, and you do not want to get into that situation. So keep your purchases to a reasonable minimum, and if you buy a lot of the same stuff and it looks like it's mainly just for something you would use, then you have no problem. But to be on the safe side, I'm going to go make a list now of everything I bought.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.